Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Monday, the 27th of July. I am back in the office. This is my last week before holidays. So, just give you a heads up. Um, Yesterday's Gospel on the Go is the last one until September, and this and at Friday will be the last Church at Home until September 1st as well. So, just giving you a heads up. Today, I'd like to share with you another devotion from Joshua Dubois, the President's Devotional, which he shared each day with Barack Obama when he was president. And this one's called Keeping Close to Jesus. This passage is from Joshua chapter 3, verses 3 to 4. When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God and the Levitical priests carrying it, you are to move out from your positions and follow it. Then you will know which way to go, since you have never been this way before. But keep a distance of about 2,000 cubits between you and the ark. Do not go near it. Here's the wondrous aspect of a relationship with Jesus. In times past, the holiest objects were kept at a distance. Everyone except the priests and the Levites had to stay 2,000 cubits, about 300 feet, from the ark of the covenant of the Lord, where God's Spirit dwelled. God spoke directly to Moses, but no others. But then Christ came to earth. He broke all the rules of distance between God and humanity. By taking human form, Jesus showed us that we too can touch, feel, and abide with God. We just need to draw close to Him, and He will draw near to us. And the prayer. Dear God, thank you for shrinking the distance between me and the ark of your covenant. The only distance is that which I impose. I want to draw close to you now and commune with your Spirit. I humbly ask for your presence. Amen. One of the things I learned early on in my ministry in the church is um, well, one of the things I learned was that people don't handle change very well in the Anglican Church. If you've done it twice, then it's a tradition, you never change it. Um, and the same thing goes for furniture, moving furniture. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I used to be a prolific furniture mover. And it's amazing how strong you can be when you have a desire. I remember, having the same bedroom for many years, and I probably came up with 15 different places you could put the furniture. We would move often when I was growing up, and then as a priest, I moved often, and I get kind of bored if we didn't move fast enough. So I would move my desk and my bed and move all the furniture around, and that was often the time that I dusted and vacuumed, cleaned up the laundry and threw out the garbage and my mother always loved that part of it, not maybe the moving of the furniture, but she loved the fact that I actually get my room clean as a teenager. But I loved moving furniture around. I loved having entering spaces in a new way and experience them in a new way. But that is not, apparently, I'm not normal. Rob doesn't like that, and he memorizes the spaces, and he literally will walk into things. So I don't really change furniture around anymore, um, unfortunately. But one thing that I did notice in church was that if you move spaces, people will react. And one of those things is something simple like moving the altar. So in many Anglican churches, the altar used to be up against the wall, and the priest would stand with his, usually was the his then, his back to the people, and they couldn't see all that was happening. And then over the years, we sort of changed that. We moved the altars away from the wall and stood behind the altar so people could participate. They could see what was happening. But something also happened when we moved the altar away from the wall. It was different. People felt uncomfortable. And for some people, they felt the difference of an actual physical space, the closeness. Now, we all have our bubble. We all know where that space is, where you're comfortable with people being. With Rob, my personal space is like this much. If he wants to stand beside me, hold my hand, put his arm around me, walk up and give me a hug, I have no issues with that most of the time. Not so much at work, but you know what I mean. But with total strangers or other people, I have this invisible barrier where it's like, okay, that's how close they can get. And if they get closer, I'll actually back up. We have this like personal space we need. For some people, it's very different. For me, my personal space can be usually about a foot and a half or 2 feet, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not. If I'm just chatting with somebody, that's about as close as I want people to get. Now, if they're extremely tall, I'm fairly tall. So if they're extremely tall, I actually increase that space because I need to look up to them, up at them. If they're extremely short, the same thing. I need to have enough space that when I look down at them, I can see their faces. Some people are just, there's some people you just feel comfortable with and you just want to bring them in for a hug or stand really close to them. And other people, whether you know them or not, you just get a feeling, okay, like that's as close as I'm going to get. And if they come closer, you back up. That's normal. We all have those personal spaces. We have that little bubble around us in which we feel safe. And until we trust that person or something changes, we're going to maintain that distance. Well, the same thing I think happens in the church. When we move the altar forward, the people who are sitting in the closest pews, and often in the Anglican church, that won't be the very first pew because we tend to sit back further. But it's almost like if you bring the altar forward by 5 feet, people need to back up a couple pews. It sounds ridiculous, but it's not. It's because people have that sense of where they feel comfortable with the Holy of Holies. Originally God said to Moses, this is the Holy of Holies, and here are the rules. The people, unless they've been appointed, need to stand back this many cubits, about 300 feet. They need to be back far enough from the Holy of Holies to acknowledge that it is holy, is special. And I think we do the same thing in our churches. We have this sense that the altar, the sanctuary, the part behind the altar rail, is some kind of no man's land. We're not allowed to go in there. Now, I have worked for years to help people understand that they are welcome to be there. Now, you don't traipse in there with your muddy boots and sit on top of the altar. You go in with respect and reverence. You handle the things, the chalice or the paten or the the veil, the burse, all of the things on the altar, the candles, you handle them with gentleness and respect and reverence. But anyone can be welcome to be there. But we're dealing with centuries of teaching people don't go there. And whether we were born centuries ago and I know where that came from, there's something in us that in subconsciously knows, oh, can't go that close. But then in that same service where people will sit, if you move the altar further away from the wall and closer to them, they might actually sit back further a little bit in the pews, even though they don't consciously realize they're doing it. At the same time, when we offer them the body and blood of Christ, they will come forward to the altar rail, right up into that space where they don't feel comfortable being so close. But for that moment, when Jesus is being presented to them, they feel comfortable enough to come right there and to receive Christ right here in their hands, right here in their mouth, that Jesus comes into them. It's incredible, this sense of geography and boundaries that we have, that we have within us, this the sense that we're not able to come into that space that's the holiest of holies. But at the same time, with Jesus, that boundary has been decreased. That boundary has almost been eliminated. That we can come to Jesus. And I've never read a study about it, and I imagine there's some been done, and if not, they should be, about what's the difference. That the same person who feels that they need to sit so far back from the altar also feels comfortable coming forward to the altar to receive the body and blood of Christ. It's incredible. But the reality is that it's okay to have both boundaries. There's something wrong with feeling that there's moments and times and places in our lives when we need to say, I can't go too close. I need to revere that space, that feeling, that atmosphere. And that's a holy place, and I don't want to trample on it. But also in our hearts, being able to hold the tension of knowing that, well, we have these spaces where we feel that this is just, no, I need to honor this space. Over here, the other part of that space is Jesus Christ himself, and we feel completely comfortable, or hopefully we feel completely comfortable to say, absolutely, I will come so close that I will receive him into myself. It's a beautiful, beautiful balance. It really is. Not one that I think we should get rid of. I don't think that we need to banish the idea of places where we feel we need to walk carefully. And also at the same time recognize that the very one in whom, the triune God, the Trinity, that we feel we need to walk carefully in this space, we feel we can run to and receive part of the Trinity as well in close to that same space. It's a beautiful tension. The call and the feel of being welcomed, and the call and the feel of being reverent. The back and forth. The back and forth of our faith in Christ, our relationship with God, our sense of who God is in our lives. It's okay to feel both. As a matter of fact, I think it's good that we feel both. So where are those spaces in your life where you feel like that's revered and you should approach gently? And where are those places in your life when you feel this is the presence of Christ and I should run to receive it? Have a great day. God bless you, and I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.